But first, who better to tell us about the curious spell the Malverns cast on visitors than freelance cameraman and director Liam Dale, who makes a special point of sailing here on his own canal boat. Why do you always approach them by canal boat?
Because it slows me down as much as anything. I mean, we spend our whole life rushing and roaring around the countryside, but because of the Severn being what it is, the river that it is, and linked with canals that take you from Worcester and all the way back round to Stourport, you can see the whole of the Malverns, but from a slow pace. So if you run the narrowboat, you're down to 3 miles an hour, and you can really start to take in what's happening with nature and what there is to really see in the Malverns that's quietly going on. I was moored up just the other week on a bit of the Severn where it was completely surrounded by trees, and up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go fishing, and a family of otters, 4 otters, just went trolling up the way behind me, completely oblivious. Whereas if you've been in sort of noisy boats and motorboats and God knows what, they don't like it, but the dig of a narrowboat, no problem for them at all. Because the beauty, of course, of a slow-moving boat is you've almost got a moving camera. So you've got the engine on the boat 70 feet behind you. The front end is relatively quiet. So when I'm after kingfishers or herons or anything like that, I can get almost 70 foot closer than I would have done if I tried to walk to them, ironically. Yeah? So they're a good thing to film from that angle.
What about badgers? Aren't they fairly prolific around here?
They are, yes. And by slowing down again and finding the pockets away from the sort of noisier activities of humans, you can really log into badgers around here. And I recently have finished a project where we've tamed a wild badger set. These guys were real alley cat badgers straight out of the trees. So it took over 3 months just to get them used to us. And the only way to do that was good old-fashioned animal bribery, you know, which was Maltesers, which is probably not so good for their teeth, sugar puffs and peanuts. So 3 months of firing these things into a new family. The cubs came online first because it's an easy source of food, but after doing it for 3 months, then we were away. The badgers went, okay, roll VT.
I wonder why the Malverns have attracted so many creative people over the years.
It has an ambience that's different from all the other hills, which as I think of as smooth and rolling and almost predictable. It's chunky, it's passionate, it's unsymmetrical.
It's certainly
yeah, lumps of it all over the place. I know that's great for anyone who wants to think with different abstract ways.
I wonder how important the water has been in bringing people here.
Crucial. I do think so. I mean, historically, if you look back to people slugging down sort of dollops of Bath and dollops of Cheltenham, when you look at the diets of the people at the time, those waters were probably, well, the best laxative that they could come up with, you know?
Is there any evidence that it's actually cured anything?
Well, no, legend would perhaps like to lead us this way, wouldn't it? You know, you've only got to look at doctors like Jenner, who played a major part in sort of in medicine and awareness, and his nearest practice to here was based at Cheltenham.
And Jenner, of course, was the man who discovered the cure for smallpox.
And this year, Bob, is the 200th anniversary of the discovery of that cure, I think it is, you know. And smallpox was finally wiped out and eradicated from the world and announced in 1980. So it's an extraordinary story with Jenner. To take all that stuff 190 years on, you've taken out a disease forever that literally wiped out 25% of all children and 10% of the world's human race.
And he discovered the key in a rather curious way.
It was a gamble. It was something that set in his mind to do with those that caught cowpox, or milkers and dairymaids, I think, who caught cowpox, then didn't suffer from smallpox. So what he decided to do was to take bits of cowpox from people and stick them into others to see if it would help them stop getting smallpox. You know, bit of a gamble, isn't it? Let me just rub these germs into your body, you know, and see if it works. Big gambles that medicine were those days. To me, it makes Jenner one of the primary saviours of mankind, a real bug buster. A real bug buster.
Now, Liam, you live yourself in the Forest of Dean. This is your playground, in a sense. What keeps drawing you back?
The water, I have to say, yeah. I have a choice in the Forest of Dean, where I'm surrounded by 27,000 acres of trees. I can either leg it to the south and go to the seaside, or I can come up here and get onto the Severn and my Brindley canals. And what it gives me being an active kind of busy person is something always to do. I may be on the go and I may be going slowly and able to see the wildlife, but I can always be active, and I go down the Severn and I come up the Birmingham Worcester and I cut across the top and come back down to Stourport. And as I go up through the canal, so the Malverns spread further and further in front of me, and you get a bigger and bigger view. So at some stage along there, I think on a good day I can see 15 different counties. It's a lot of turf.